What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Jared Barnes Show. I am your host, Jared Barnes. Today is a special episode. It's in a different spot. I am back home for Thanksgiving break. Wanted to touch on the Thanksgiving Day games for the NFL. Wanted to touch on some other NFL news heading into the weekend and give some of my college football picks for this weekend. Maybe even some NFL picks. We'll see. Because it's rivalry weekend and I'm really looking forward to it. It is just me today, just Jared. Nate, Tyler, and Micah could not make it today. I didn't ask them. I wanted to let them enjoy their Thanksgiving break, but still wanted to give you guys a little something because, listen, there's 3 Thanksgiving games. There's a lot of games this weekend. It's going to be a busy next couple of weeks of school for all 3 of us. Wanted to make a short episode just detailing on things that have happened just this weekend. Well, just yesterday on Thanksgiving Day. And I hope you guys have a great, fantastic Thanksgiving Day. And I enjoyed my time with my family. I enjoyed my time with my girlfriend. I hope you guys, you the listeners, were able to enjoy your time with your family. And if you weren't able to enjoy your time with your family, I still hope that you had a great Thanksgiving. And yeah, I'm thankful for you. I'm really thankful for you guys. I don't think I was able to say that on this week's episode. I was very tired. Recorded that thing Monday night and then got up super early on Tuesday morning to fly back home. And yeah, it was just a I'm just so happy to be back home, and I'm not really looking forward to going back to school, but at the same time, just wanted to say I'm thankful for you guys, the listeners, people that watch this show, people that support. You guys are the best, and I want you to know that it doesn't go unnoticed, and we appreciate every single one of you. Every one of us do. It means so much to all of us. But with that being said, I'll waste no more time. I'm sure you guys don't really want to hear all that. It's the first time I've done a solo episode in a very long time, and I was a little bit nervous, to be honest, when I hit record, just because it's a little different than what I've been recently doing, but it takes me back. It takes me back to what I used to do, and I kind of miss it, but kind of don't, because I love having the other guys on the show, and they make the show so much better. But doing one of these it's been so long since I've done one, and my preparation and everything is just so different at this point than what it used to be. So we'll see how this goes. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. If you do, maybe there'll be a couple more of these here and there, because they're going to be much shorter than the other things. And I'll try to bring as much energy as I can possibly bring so that you guys could really enjoy this show. The layout and even some of the things I'm going to do are much different than other shows that we've done, but we will see. And I hope you guys really do enjoy this. But yesterday in the first Thanksgiving game, Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills came up clutch in a win versus the Lions. Coming into this game, the Bills were 1-9 when trailing in the fourth quarter. In the previous 2 seasons, last season and this season combined, 1-9 when trailing heading into the fourth quarter, or at any point when they were trailing in the fourth quarter. Not a great stat, but kind of leans into the fact that Josh Allen has not been great down the stretch, like I've said on this show multiple times. And on 2 back-to-back drives, the Bills were able to drive down and score points twice. The first drive was a touchdown throw from Allen to Diggs. And then on the next drive, with 23 seconds left, Allen connected with Diggs for a 39-yard bullet that pretty much set up Tyler Bass for the game-winning field goal. They did have to kick off to the Lions, but nothing really happened on that play. On the final drive, the final 2 drives, Diggs had a touchdown. He had 5 catches, had over 60 yards on the final 2 drives alone. An impressive outing for Diggs and Allen, and what a great win. A must-needed win at this point, just due to everybody in their division, everybody in the AFC. They still need to continue to win games like this to keep pace with the Dolphins, keep pace with the Chiefs, so they get a high playoff spot, and it was much needed. They can now move on, relax, and focus on their division rival New England Patriots, and hopefully the Bills can get healthy before then. Now, I would like to point out that on my episode that we released on Tuesday, I picked the Lions to win this game. I was wrong, but I felt like I was on the right side of it for the majority of the game. I mean, the Lions played up to the Bills, and they proved that they can play and compete against some of the NFL's best teams. They needed to find a way to close out games, though. It's been a problem. They need to manage the clock much better. When they kicked the field goal, I just had a feeling that they were going to lose, because Josh Allen and the Bills have proven that they can drive the length of the field in a very quick amount of time, in 23 seconds with 3 timeouts. When you give that to Josh Allen, when you give that to Stephon Diggs, when you give that to the Bills offense, they're going to be able to get something done. And they did in this game like they have in the past that we're used to seeing. But either way, it was a very entertaining game, a very fun game. Now, I did mention that the Bills have the New England Patriots up on the docket. And my question now would be, what is next for the Detroit Lions? Around the corner, they have a game versus the Jaguars on December 4th, a game that they're going to have to win. They dropped to 4-7. They were a team that hype was starting to build around them. They just had a 3-game win streak that was broken by the Bills. And they still have 3 divisional games. They play all 3 teams that are in their division. They play the Vikings. They play the Lions. No, not the Lions. They don't play themselves. They play the Vikings. They play the Bears. And they play the Packers. The Packers are a Week 17 game. So, they have some winnable games, I'd say. The Lions do. And I think if they win out, they have a real shot at possibly making the playoffs. I don't think they're going to win out. I think they will lose one of those games, probably to the Vikings if I had to guess, because they play the Jaguars, then the Vikings, then the Jets, Panthers, Bears, and Packers. I think if they lose to the Vikings and win the rest, they could possibly make the playoffs with, the way things are going right now in the NFC. And I hope they do. That would be so much fun to see the Lions in a playoff game. That's not something you see very often. But a team that was able to get a win on Thanksgiving, a team that plays on Thanksgiving every year, the Dallas Cowboys, they were able to break a 3-game losing streak and sweep the New York Giants for the season. It was a sloppy win, but Dallas was able to get the job done versus a divisional opponent. Even if it's a sloppy win, this isn't college football. The way you win does not matter. It's did you win or did you lose? And they won this game. They swept the Giants on the season, which is crucial for their division. And Dak didn't play great in the first half. He had 2 interceptions. He rebounded then in the second half, had 2 touchdowns. The offense was clicking in the second half. Zeke played well. CeeDee Lamb played really well with a great one-handed catch, a second one-handed catch that was taken away by the review. The Cowboys were very confident that it was a touchdown, though, but then they were able to get it to, I do believe, Dalton Schultz on an ensuing play after that. But this was a big win for Dak Prescott. It was his 10th straight win versus the Giants, a streak that started after his rookie year in which he lost to the Giants twice. So after Dak's rookie year, when healthy and when playing for the Cowboys do not lose to the Giants. That is it. I did not know that until after he won this game, and to me that's very impressive. Now, it was a great win for the Giants. They need to keep winning games to keep pace with the Eagles because their division is good. But I think the Giants are about to drop off. I really do. The Giants have a rough schedule ahead, and I think the Cowboys need to keep winning these games to keep pace, just to keep pace with the Eagles and hopefully set themselves up for a chance to win the NFC East. I won't talk about this game on the Dallas side too much because I'm going to leave that for Nate when we record next week's episode, which I think you guys will very much enjoy because anytime the Cowboys win, he really brings it. But with that being said, my next question would be, what is next for the New York Giants? I just kind of hinted that, they struggled in this game. And they have a tough schedule coming up. The Giants were working with a makeshift offensive line in this game, though. And you definitely could see it. Saquon Barkley only ran for 39 yards, and the team as a whole only ran for 90 yards. They had 5 guys carry the ball. Daniel Jones, their backup running back, Saquon Barkley, and they only ran for 90 yards. They're a team that has to run the ball to be successful. Due to the makeshift offensive line, though, Micah Parsons was able to get 2 sacks, and the Cowboys on the day were able to get home on Daniel Jones 3 times. And the Giants have a couple very important games coming up. The first one on the docket is their next one. The Giants need to focus on only one game at a time because that is where their season is, even at 7-4. On December 4th, on a Sunday, they play the Commanders in Washington. That game could be extremely pivotal to the division because if Washington wins on Sunday, they will move to 7 Is it 7-5? I'm not 100% sure what their record is. I know they have 6 wins though. And if they win, they'll have 7 wins. Going into this Giants game with the same or similar record, setting them up for a very important clash on who is last and who is third in the division. Which, listen, that's NFC East. No one expected the NFC East to be this good. And I didn't expect the Commanders to be the last team in the division. And as Heineke has continued to play, this team continues to win. They're a scary team. The Giants have lost a couple games. I mean, they have a rough stretch. 4 of their next 6 games are divisional games. They have 2 versus the Commanders, 2 versus the Eagles. And they also play the Vikings, a very good team as well. And they play the Colts. I don't think that's an easy team to beat because they run the ball very well and control the game just like the Giants do. So the Giants are in trouble. The Giants, I hate to say this for Giants fans. Adrian, if you're listening, my man, listen. It could be a rough end of the season. I thought you guys had a chance to land Odell Beckham. And that's just looking less and less like the case because this team is slowly, I think, falling apart. They've lost 3 of the last 4 games. It's not good. It's not been good. Giants, it's been pretty disappointing 4 weeks for you guys. You guys started so hot. And sadly, I feel like the end for you guys is near for this season. I don't know if the Giants are going to make the playoffs at this point. But Dallas moves to 8-3 on the year, and the Giants have now dropped to 7-4, like I just mentioned. In the last 4 games, they've had 3 losses, which is not good. And Giants fans, don't be disappointed if you guys don't make the playoffs because the NFC is going to get really interesting down the stretch here. I mean, if the Lions yesterday were close to it being in the hunt and in the conversation, it's going to be rough. I do believe it's going to be rough. But it's definitely going to be fun to watch down the stretch. A team that's been fun to watch all season, though, is the Minnesota Vikings. They have pulled out another close game in which history was made for Justin Jefferson. Just a fantastic game. This was one of those games where the Vikings had to make plays in all 3 phases of the game, offense, defense, and special teams, and they were able to do that in a win that they really needed after the embarrassing loss to Dallas on Sunday, where they got absolutely rocked in their home stadium, 37-3. It was an embarrassing game, and they wanted to flip the switch and move on from that game and forget about it. And they did. And they performed very well versus the Patriots. They held the Patriots to 0-3 in the red zone. And then, on special teams, they had a kickoff return. And then on offense, Kirk Cousins and his receiving core really cooked. Justin Jefferson had 9 catches for 139 yards and a touchdown. This game moved him past Odell Beckham Jr. and Randy Moss, which puts him in first place for the most receiving yards that a wide receiver has had in his first 3 seasons. He still has 6 games to go. So he's going to blow that record completely out of the water by the time he is done. He's been a very impressive receiver since he stepped foot on the field. And listen, they have a great receiving core. KJ Osborne as the 3rd wide receiver on their team has been very solid. Thielen as the number 2, really good as well. He had 9 catches in this game as well for 61 yards and a touchdown, 61, 63, something like that, somewhere near there. Fantastic game by Thielen. Fantastic game by Jefferson. Kirk Cousins, who threw an early pick in the first quarter, pretty much decided that even though this is a primetime game, he was going to perform, and he did. He had 7 incompletions on the whole day. One of those going to the Patriots early in the game, and then he figured it out from that point on. It was an impressive win for the Vikings and an impressive game overall. And as somebody that, I watched the game, I was impressed the whole time. Because this was one of the few games this season that I've watched that, to me, the whole atmosphere around it felt like a playoff game. Both teams were playing extremely well, and it made for an entertaining game from start to finish. Now, the Vikings have a huge lead in their division, and unless everything falls apart and other teams in their division start winning, which I think the only team that might do so is the Lions. The Packers might get a few wins here or there, but I think the Lions might finish better than the Packers. I don't think that's a hot take at all. I think that's just, if you watch football, I think that's a easy take to believe. And it's going to be fun to watch that NFC North figure things out down the stretch here. But the AFC East, again, a very good division. Just like the NFC East. The East divisions this year have been fantastic. And the Patriots are an interesting spot in that division with their record and things like that. My question is, what's next for the Patriots? You got to wonder this because, they have a home game versus the Bills coming up. That's their next game. It's a must win. They have to win that game. And the Patriots have to clean up a couple parts of their game. There's some of it that has been cleaned up and they performed much better this week. But to continue to keep moving forward and winning games to possibly get into the playoffs, they're going to have to clean up their play when it comes to penalties because they allowed 5 first downs in this Vikings game alone due to penalties. Not good. Now, in this game, though, they did play very well. Mac Jones and the offense did. They played really well when they were attacking downfield. He went 5 for 5 for 153 yards on throws 15 yards or further downfield. They need to find a way of keep doing that and do that consistently because he had 2 touchdowns in this game throwing downfield, 15 yards or further. Throughout the entire season combined, he had 1. In this game, he doubled that. It was a good win for the Patriots. They still need to grow in the red zone. They need to figure out how to turn drives into points down there because that's how you win games. Because the Vikings went 3 for 5 in the red zone, and the Patriots went 0 for 3. That is ball game right there. If you score a touchdown or a field goal every time you hit the red zone, that's fantastic. If you do it on a clip of 60%, like the Vikings did in this game, that's really good. If you hold the other team to 0, you probably won the game, if I had to guess. There's very few times that if a team can't score in the red zone and the other team scored 60% of the time they were in the red zone, that team lost. And the Vikings proved that yet again. And the Patriots just need to figure some things out if they want to keep competing in the AFC East. Now, let's hit some other news around the NFL. There were some quarterback changes this past week that are being made. And that would also be with the New York Jets. This is a story that people have been talking about all week. Mike White is now the starting quarterback for the Jets. It's massive news. And it is tough for Zach Wilson. He's had a rough go. He's like, in the previous 2 seasons, he ranks 35th in QBR of all eligible quarterbacks. This is a guy that's supposed to be a franchise guy, and he just hasn't been. Now, part of this comes due to the fact that Robert Saleh said that Zach Wilson's play on Sunday completely lacked all fundamentals. And then when Zach Wilson was asked if he let down the offense after that game, he said no, and they moved on. And he said that bothered him all week, and after he got benched, he issued an apology, but by then it was too late. And I do think that he still would have been benched regardless of whether he actually issued an apology after the game to the defense or not. But I don't think Jets fans would be wanting to ship him out of town after only his second season because of that. And I really like the move of starting Mike White. Mike White's a quarterback that I really enjoy. In his first game as a starter last year versus the Cincinnati Bengals, the team that went to the Super Bowl representing the AFC, Mike White threw for 400 yards. Listen, he's not a bad quarterback. He just had a random injury versus the Indianapolis Colts last year, and we didn't see him play the rest of the season because Zach Wilson came back. I think Mike White maybe could be the franchise guy for the Jets. I'd like to see if he can keep them, if he keeps them in contention for playoffs. They cannot let Zach Wilson play another snap this year then. Because it'll just prove that a 4th-round guy they didn't even draft, the Cowboys drafted Mike White, is better than a first-round draft pick they drafted. And they're going to have some things they need to figure out in the quarterback room in this offseason because do you keep Zach Wilson? Saleh said his career's not over there, but I wonder if it is at this point, especially if Mike White performs. Because you could bring in then a veteran guy, maybe like Jimmy Garoppolo, who's familiar with the offense, and then see where that gets you from that point on. Another quarterback changing news, Davis Mills has been benched for Kyle Allen. The Texans have really struggled. Davis Mills not put in a great spot this year. They don't have a run game. They don't have an offensive line. They don't have weapons. They're a bad football team. They were going to lose a bunch of games this year. Everybody knew it. They play the Browns and their former quarterback this week, so that'll be fun to watch, I guess. Probably not, though, because the Browns might wipe the floor with them. And Bryce Perkins will start in place of concussed Matthew Stafford this weekend. So that will be interesting to see how that plays out this weekend. Uh, I love all those quarterbacks. Bryce Perkins is a preseason dog. I have not seen him play in the regular season, but I'll be excited to. Kyle Allen is a solid quarterback. He was solid at Carolina. I believe he was at Washington. He was solid there. And I think he'll be solid for the Texans. I don't think he's going to be much better than Davis Mills because they don't really have weapons to throw to outside of Brandon Cooks, but we'll see how it goes. Moving on, though, let's move on to some other NFL news. Let's talk about Von Miller. Von Miller in that Bills and Lions game was forced to play more snaps than maybe he would have liked and maybe he has in a game all year, but he got or was projected to play in more snaps than he has in a game all year. And let's be real, he was one of the best free agent signings of this offseason. That's no joke. He has completely transcended and changed that Bills defense to be so much better at rushing the passer than they have before he arrived. And it is a real shame that he got hurt in that game. Luckily, Von Miller did not tear his ACL. But for Bills fans, not great because the timetable for his return is questionable. He could be out 1 to 2 weeks, or he could miss the entire rest of this regular season. The Bills are probably going to make the playoffs. If I was Von Miller, and you're a vet. You're a vet. Hang around the team, get healthy, get really healthy, get ready for a playoff run. Because that's what you were brought here to do. You were brought here to help the Bills in the playoffs when they're playing a team like the Kansas City Chiefs so that when there's 20 seconds left on the clock, they don't drive down and score a field goal or a touchdown on you. That's what you were brought there for, Von Miller. And listen, it's going to be tough to, replicate what he's done. I mean, Ed Oliver had this to say when asked about Von Miller's injury. He said if he misses a couple games or whatever, or if he's playing next week, that's what he said he hopes. I just hope that he's still around. I hope his presence is still here. I hope that he's still leading us from the sidelines. You get a guy like that, it don't matter whether he is playing, watching, or coaching. It just doesn't matter. Just having his presence, having his positive energy, the way he carries himself, like the messages that he portrays to us, and just having a guy like that around is infectious. And it's obviously been infectious to the defense because what he's done this year in the NFL. He's third in the NFL in quarterback pressures with 38. He's only behind Micah Parsons and Patriots linebacker Matthew Judon. Micah Parsons has 46. Matthew Judon has 36. And this is where it gets wild because no other Bills player has more than 12 pressures on the year. That's 26 QB pressure difference from Von Miller to the next Bills player. That's the largest gap on any team in the NFL this season. And that's just not a great sign for the Bills because, again, he's that big of an impact maker for them. And I think the Bills' defense could be in massive trouble. Tre'Davious White, who's just coming back from an injury from an ACL that he tore last year on Thanksgiving, played like 15 snaps in this game. Without a pass rush, your secondary is going to suffer, and they don't have a whole they have guys that have played a lot this year, but they're good. They're not great guys. They're solid. They're not guys you'd want to, be shutdown guys and line up against other teams' ones. And it makes me nervous for the Bills' Super Bowl aspirations this year because if no one on their defense steps up, the Bills' defense is about to look drastically different, and I do believe they have another game versus Miami coming up here in the future. Now, let's hit on the final NFL news storyline of the day. I guess it's NFL, but it's also college related as well. Matt Rule is supposedly probably going to be hired. I'll do this because it's going to be easier for you guys to see it. I won't be covering up the tweet with my dumb head. Matt Rule has not Matt Rule. Nebraska has zeroed in on former Carolina Panthers coach Matt Rule as their next head coach. The two sides hope to finalize a deal in the coming days, sources tell ESPN. That was according to Chris Lowe of ESPN. So, with that being said, Matt Rule, everyone knew that this is a guy, he's a culture-building coach. I don't know what happened in the NFL. He said he never lost the locker room, and that was something he was proud of. He said that this week on Good Morning Football. which to me that's a commendable thing. Like understanding you didn't lose the locker room and just knowing that the guys still respected you and were playing for you. That's a good thing for a young head coach in the NFL. That means guys respect you. And I hope that continues in college. Nebraska has been a place that's been looking for a coach for a long time. Rich tradition, blue blood school. They're playing in the Big Ten. They're playing the Big Ten West. Matt Rule could turn that thing around and win a couple Big Ten West, you know, division championships. I don't think he can win a conference championship for years, but he's a big time coach. It's a big time hire for Nebraska, and I really hope they turn it around. Shout out to boy Will Compton. That's his alma mater. Hopefully, for his sake, they turn it around because watching Matt Rule at the Busing Bowl with Harbaugh would be pretty. It's gonna be pretty fun, I think. Hopefully, in the next 2 years, Nebraska can get a win in the Busing Bowl. But with that being said, I will move on to my final segment for this weekend. It's rivalry weekend in college football, and there's some great games that are going to be played tomorrow on Saturday. With that being said, the first game up on the docket that I have is going to be Clemson at South Carolina. That is going to me be a very fun game to watch because just last week alone, Spencer Rattler balled out and beat Tennessee, pretty much killing Tennessee's playoff hopes and making every Tennessee fan the most depressed person on the planet. They play Clemson, and I'm looking forward to that. I think Clemson, they're 14.5-point favorites. I think Clemson wins this game easy. Auburn plays Alabama. Auburn's 5-6. They need to win this game to be bowl eligible. Alabama is 22-point favorites. I think Alabama easily wins this game, but it's gonna be tough nose. It's gonna be fought out. I think it'll be a fun game to watch, but Alabama will run away with it in the second half if they don't to start the game. And I'd say in my mind the biggest rivalry game of the weekend is obviously Michigan-Ohio State, but there's some other games as well. Oregon State. Oregon's gonna win that game. Hopefully LSU doesn't lose one to Texas A&M. They're only 10-point favorites, and I know Jimbo Fisher needs to get a win here. Hopefully people show up to that game. The last game for Texas A&M, they played UMass, and they played awful football versus UMass, and nobody showed up. But supposedly 90,000 people were in attendance, even though there was like 9 people in the stands. But that'll be a fun game to watch. And then my final college football pick of the weekend is obviously Michigan-Ohio State. In my mind, this is the game of the weekend. This is the game of the college football season. It's the first time since 2006 that these teams will face off as 11-0 teams. According to ESPN Analytics, Ohio State has a 71.8% chance to win this game. Listen, this will be a fun one to watch. If you're Ohio State, you have to shut down the run game with Blake Corum. You have to make J.J. McCarthy beat you with his arm. I don't think Michigan's gonna let that happen. I think they're going to run the ball as much as they can. And just if you're Michigan, don't let the Ohio State wide receivers make plays downfield. Hold them in check. Force C.J. Stroud and them to slowly drive. If Ohio State starts running the ball really well too, this game could be an absolute blowout. So that'll be interesting to watch. But I think this is a tough one. I really like Ohio State's offense, but there's just something about that Michigan team this year that just to me feels different. But because I feel like going Michigan and knowing how these things work when I pick teams, this is tough. This is tough because I really want to pick Michigan. But Ohio State's 8-point favorites. I'm normally wrong. I'm still going to go Michigan. I think both of these teams, regardless, probably make the college football playoffs, no matter what the outcome of this game is, unless one of them completely embarrasses the other. Michigan hasn't won in Columbus in a very, very long time. And 2 straight years, if they win and they do it in Columbus this year, that would be absolutely massive. It'll be fun to watch though tomorrow. I'm looking forward to watching some of those college games tomorrow. one of my last days in before I go back to school, and it'll be very fun. I hope you guys enjoyed Thanksgiving. I hope you guys enjoyed college football rivalry weekend. I hope you guys enjoyed this special episode, the surprise episode that I did here. And I just want to appreciate all of you for listening. It was a fun episode. I haven't done one by myself in a long time. I hate leaving empty spaces, so my throat right now is extremely dried out, so I'm going to have to go get some water. But thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. Everything you guys do is fantastic. Just leave a comment on predict your college football playoff. Just leave a comment. Say something. Say something nice to someone in the comments. Thank you guys so much. Peace. I love you guys. Hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. I will see you next week. Me and the boys.